That carton of milk, you know the one. It's sitting in your fridge, a silent sentinel of dairy. The date stamped on its cap reads yesterday. Is it a ticking time bomb of sourness, or is it perfectly fine for your morning coffee? This simple question is played out in kitchens across the country every single day. You stand there, a consumer caught in a moment of indecision. Do you trust the date? Do you trust your nose? The internal debate is real, and it's a surprisingly complex one. The truth is, those dates printed on our food are one of the most misunderstood pieces of information in our modern food system. They feel like strict rules, but often they are more like vague suggestions. This widespread confusion isn't just a minor inconvenience, it's a massive problem. It leads to perfectly good food being thrown in the trash, while simultaneously putting people at risk of eating food that has actually turned dangerous. We've all been there, sniffing a piece of chicken with the focus of a bomb disposal expert, or staring at a can of beans from 2 years ago, as if it holds ancient secrets. We are seeking certainty where there is very little. The labels themselves, sell by best, if used by use by sound similar, but they mean vastly different things. One is for the store manager, one is about peak flavor, and one is about safety. But which is which? The lack of clarity has turned our refrigerators into zones of anxiety. Think about it. We are taught to be cautious, to avoid risk, especially when it comes to our health. So when faced with a date that has passed, our instinct is to toss the item. Better safe than sorry, right? But what if safe is actually wasteful? What if the food industry and government regulators haven't given us the full story, or at least haven't made it easy to understand? The system as it stands creates a paradox. We are so afraid of foodborne illness that we contribute to a mountain of food waste, which has its own set of dire consequences for our wallets and the environment. This isn't your fault. You've been navigating a confusing landscape with an incomplete map. The goal of this exploration is to give you that map. We're going to demystify the dates, debunk the myths, and arm you with practical, science-backed knowledge. We will turn you from a hesitant guesser into a confident kitchen commander. You will learn to distinguish between a food that's merely lost a bit of its crunch and one that could send you to the emergency room. It's time to stop letting a simple printed date dictate your decisions and start using your brain, your senses, and a little bit of science to make smarter choices. Let's start this journey together. Let's begin with the food that sits at the epicenter of expiration date anxiety: the egg. No other item sends more people scrambling to their search engines, carton in hand, wondering if they are about to make a delicious omelet or, a date with disaster. The egg is honestly a marvel of natural packaging, a perfectly contained, nutrient-dense food source. Yet, this simple perfection is shrouded in mystery and misinformation. How can you be absolutely sure one is safe to eat? For raw eggs in their shells, reassuringly long, store them in the main body of the fridge. Raw eggs, typically 3 to 5 weeks from purchase. That often means they're fine a couple weeks after the sell-by or best-by date. Now let's talk about hard-boiled eggs. Boiling kills bacteria, but the cooking removes the shell's protective cuticle. Once boiled and scrubbed, the egg becomes much more perishable. A hard-boiled egg, peeled or unpeeled, should be refrigerated promptly. Consume hard-boiled eggs within 1 week. What if you have an abundance of eggs? The freezer is your friend, but don't freeze whole eggs. Instead, crack the eggs into a bowl. Beat them gently. Pour the mixture into an ice cube tray or freezer-safe container. Frozen like this, eggs remain safe to use for up to 1 year. Perfect later for scrambling, baking, or making quiches. These simple guidelines beat the ambiguous dates printed on the carton. They help you plan meals, reduce waste, and handle eggs like a seasoned chef. You've probably seen it on social media or heard it from a well-meaning relative, the famous float test. If it sinks to the bottom and lies on its side, it's fresh. If it stands on its end, it's a bit older but still good. If it floats to the surface, it's a bad egg and you should throw it away immediately. But here's the secret. The float test is a test for freshness, not for safety. It's a myth that a floating egg is inherently spoiled or dangerous. As the egg ages, the air cell grows larger, making the egg more buoyant. A very old egg has a large enough air cell to make it float. This measures age and air content, not contamination. A floating egg is simply an old egg. However, it can still be perfectly safe to eat if fully cooked in a baked good. So what's the ultimate test for safety? Your nose. A truly spoiled egg will have a pungent, sulfurous odor. You'll know the second you crack it open. The most common mistake people make is storing their eggs in the refrigerator door. The door is the warmest part of the fridge. The golden rule? Keep eggs in the main body of the refrigerator on a middle shelf toward the back. Always keep eggs in their original carton. The cardboard blocks strong odors and helps prevent shells from cracking. Store eggs pointy end down. This keeps the air sac at the top, which keeps the yolk centered and slows aging. By combining these strategies, you create the ideal environment. They can last well beyond the printed date, saving you money and cutting down on unnecessary waste. Moving on from the relatively stable world of eggs, we now enter a far more perilous territory: chicken. This beloved protein is a staple in countless meals, from weeknight dinners to celebratory roasts. Yet it is also one of the foods where the stakes for food safety are incredibly high. Unlike an old egg, which might just ruin your breakfast, mishandled chicken can lead to severe foodborne illnesses caused by pathogens like Salmonella and Campylobacter. It is not a food you can buy and forget about in the back of your fridge for a week, hoping for the best. However, color alone is an unreliable and often misleading indicator of safety. A piece of chicken can still be perfectly safe to eat, even if its color isn't a vibrant pink. When you bring a package of raw chicken home from the grocery store, the clock is officially ticking, and it's moving fast. The absolute maximum time for raw chicken in the fridge is 1 to 2 days. This is not a suggestion, it's a critical food safety rule. If you won't cook it within 48 hours, move it to the freezer immediately. Once frozen, raw chicken has a much longer lease on life. Individual pieces up to 9 months, a whole chicken up to a full year. The rules change once the chicken is cooked. Cooking kills harmful bacteria, making the meat safe, but it's still perishable. Leftover cooked chicken, 3 to 4 days in the fridge. Too much leftover? Freeze it. Cooked chicken, up to 4 months in the freezer. Memorize the timelines. Follow them and you'll remove ambiguity and keep chicken safe. Spoiled chicken has an odor that is impossible to ignore. A fresh chicken should have very little smell. In contrast, chicken that has turned will have a distinct and powerful sour smell. As chicken begins to spoil, the surface develops a slimy film. If it feels unusually sticky or leaves a thick residue on your fingers, that's a major red flag. If the chicken fails either of these tests, it is no longer safe to eat, regardless of what the best buy date says. This two-step process empowers you to make a confident and safe decision, protecting yourself and your family from the real dangers of spoiled poultry. But now we arrive at the single most important rule in chicken safety, the one that trumps all others: cooking temperature. The magic number you need to remember is 165 degrees Fahrenheit or 74 degrees Celsius. This is the safe minimum internal temperature for all poultry. A digital food thermometer is the only tool that can give you the certainty you need. And no, you cannot tell if it's reached this temperature just by looking at it. The old advice to cook until the juices run clear is not a scientifically accurate method. By embracing the use of a thermometer, you eliminate all the guesswork. Cooking to 165 degrees is the ultimate rule that guarantees your delicious chicken meal is also a safe one every single time. After navigating the high-stakes world of raw chicken, we turn our attention to one of the most common and debated items in any refrigerator: milk. It's a daily staple for millions, poured over cereal, swirled into coffee, used in countless recipes. Yet, it is also a source of constant low-grade anxiety. We've all experienced that moment of hesitation. Is it on the brink of becoming a sour, lumpy mess, or is it perfectly fine? This uncertainty leads to a tremendous amount of waste. Gallons poured down the drain every year. The single most important factor determining how long your milk lasts after you open it is temperature. The colder the milk, the longer it will taste fresh. This is where most people make their biggest mistake: storing the milk in the refrigerator door. The door is the warmest part of the unit. The best place for your milk is on a lower shelf, toward the back. By making this one small change, you can significantly extend the life of your milk, often keeping it fresh for a full week or even longer past its sell-by date. Always make sure the cap is screwed on tightly to prevent it from absorbing odors from other foods. How do you know when your milk has finally reached the end of its life? The first and most definitive test is the sniff test. Fresh milk has a neutral or slightly sweet smell. Spoiled milk has an unmistakable sour, tangy, or acidic odor. If it smells bad, don't drink it. If the smell is ambiguous, the next step is a visual inspection. Look for lumpiness, graininess, or a slight yellowish tint. If it's not smooth and homogeneous, it's spoiled. If your milk has a slightly sour smell but isn't fully curdled, it can often be used in cooking and baking, like for pancakes or biscuits. This practical, science-based approach will help you get the most out of every carton you buy. We now move to a much more complex category: leftovers. This is the realm of restaurant doggy bags, the remains of a Sunday roast, and that extra portion of casserole you saved for lunch. We pack them away with good intentions, only to rediscover them a week later, shrouded in mystery. The key guideline, recommended by the FDA and the USDA, is the 3 to 4 day rule. Eat cooked leftovers within 3 to 4 days of refrigeration. After that, spoilage bacteria can reach dangerous levels, even if food looks or smells fine. Can't eat them in 3 to 4 days? Use the freezer. Most cooked meals freeze well for 2 to 4 months. The final critical step to ensuring their safety is proper reheating. Simply warming up your food is not enough. All solid leftovers should reach an internal temperature of 165 degrees Fahrenheit. This is the temperature that reliably destroys most foodborne pathogens. When using a microwave, cover the food and stir it partway through to ensure even heating. The most foolproof method is to use a food thermometer. Finally, always trust your senses before you reheat. If it looks strange, smells foul, or feels slimy, discard it immediately. When in doubt, throw it out. We now venture into the deepest corners of the kitchen, the pantry, home to the champions of shelf stability, canned foods. These metal cylinders are like little time capsules, preserving everything from summer peaches to hearty chili. The key is its acidity. High-acid foods like tomatoes and fruit are best for 12 to 18 months. Low-acid foods like vegetables, meat, and beans can last 2 to 5 years. However, there are non-negotiable red flags. If a can bulges, leaks, has a deep seam dent, or spurts when opened, never taste it. Toss immediately. We have arrived at the very heart of the food waste puzzle, the confusing, often misleading language of expiration date labels. For decades, we've been conditioned to see these dates as absolute ironclad deadlines. Except for infant formula, there is no federally regulated standardized date labeling system. Dates are decided by manufacturers as a suggestion for peak quality, best if used by, or best by. This phrase is the manufacturer's promise of peak quality. It has almost nothing to do with the food's safety. A box of crackers eaten after its best by date might be slightly less crisp. The food is, in all likelihood, perfectly safe to consume. Now, let's turn to the use by date. This is more serious. It's tied to food safety for perishable items. The use by date is the manufacturer's recommendation for the last safe date to consume. Treat it as a much firmer deadline. Always consume these items before or on that date, or freeze them. Finally, the sell-by date. This date is not for you. It is a tool for inventory management, telling the store how long to display a product for sale. You can, and honestly should, almost completely ignore the sell-by date. Food does not magically spoil the moment the clock strikes midnight on this date. Internalize these definitions and you'll shop with clarity, saving food and money. We now turn our attention to a category of foods that is the pinnacle of convenience, but also harbors a unique and insidious risk: deli meats. Sliced turkey, hot dogs, pâté. These items require no cooking, ready to be enjoyed straight from the package. The primary concern is listeria. Unlike other bacteria, listeria is sneaky and resilient. It can survive and even grow at cold refrigerator temperatures. The illness, listeriosis, can be very serious for pregnant women, newborns, the elderly, and anyone with a weakened immune system. This invisible threat makes deli meats higher risk because the food won't necessarily look or smell bad. This is not a situation where you can rely on a sniff test. The universally accepted guideline is that opened deli meats should be consumed within 3 to 5 days. This isn't a suggestion, it's a critical safety deadline. After 5 days, any opened package should be discarded. The best strategy is to change your purchasing habits. Buy smaller amounts more frequently, only what you can realistically consume within that 3 to 5 day period. Proper storage is also key. Your refrigerator must be kept at or below 40 degrees Fahrenheit, and always store deli meats in the coldest part of your fridge. By respecting this deadline, you can continue to enjoy the convenience of these foods with the confidence that you are doing so as safely as possible. We have navigated the confusing aisles of the supermarket and decoded the mysterious language on food packages. Now, it's time to distill this knowledge into a simple, powerful set of universal rules. These 5 commandments are your new guiding principles, designed to bring clarity to any moment of food-related doubt. First and foremost, keep it cold. Your refrigerator and freezer are your greatest allies. Ensure your refrigerator is at or below 40 degrees Fahrenheit and your freezer is at 0. Second, you must obey the 2-hour rule. Perishable foods should never be left at room temperature for more than 2 hours. Third, follow cold storage timelines. 3 to 4 days for leftovers, 3 to 5 days for open deli meats. This prevents bacteria from gaining a foothold. Fourth, don't taste to test. Never taste test a food to see if it's still good. Your nose and eyes should be your final judges before something ever reaches your mouth. And fifth, when in doubt, throw it out. Your health is always more valuable than the few dollars you might save by salvaging a questionable item. Adopting these food-smart habits creates a powerful ripple effect, positively influencing your personal finances, your family's health, and the well-being of the planet. This is not just about cleaning out your fridge, it's about making a meaningful difference, one meal at a time. If you found this helpful, hit like and subscribe for more food hacks that keep your family safe and your wallet happy.